Hello, welcome to another video. Now, this was going to be an astrophotography video again. First though, before I start, I just want to say I've just hit 1,000 subscribers and I'm really happy with that, so thank you all very much. Now, I said recently in a vlog that
whenever it's clear, I'm going to go and shoot.
So that's what I'm doing tonight. I also, recently in a vlog, asked you guys whether it was a bit uncool to go into a graveyard to shoot.
You'll have to let me know if this is disrespectful or not.
Nobody said that it wasn't, and I also posted that picture on Instagram, and nobody told me I'm a horrendous human being there either. So, it's dark, it's clear, I'm going to shoot some stars, I'm going to go into the graveyard, but what I'm going to talk about while I'm there is light painting. So let's get on with it. So talking about light painting, the picture that I posted in the graveyard last time, I was using light painting on that. And there's a guy I've been watching recently on YouTube called Richard Tati, and his channel is Nightscape Images. He does a lot of light painting and he does a lot of brilliant astrophotography. So I will link that down below. It's definitely worth watching if you're into that kind of thing. Hey, I'll tell you what, I never thought when I first started shooting YouTube videos 2 years ago that I'd end up shooting them in a bloody graveyard, but never mind. Let's get on with it. So, first thing to do is to try and find the subjects in the foreground. So I'm going to have a walk around, find something that I like the look of. Obviously in this, the subject is going to be the sky, the stars, but if you don't have an interesting foreground, then you end up with a really bad picture. Like those ones you see that are just of the Milky Way or of some stars, they just look crap. So we need to walk around and try and find a decent bit of foreground. Obviously in this case, it's going to be a grave. So all I'm using to do the light painting is just this little torch from Amazon. It's great, it was really cheap. It's got a few different levels of brightness on it, and also it's USB charged, so the white balance on it as well is decently white. So I use this all the time when I'm doing Astro. I'll drop a link to it down below. Right, so I think I'm quite happy with this. So what I'm going to do now is dial in my settings, so find the right shutter speed so it's not too bright, and so that I can dial the ISO down a fair bit. And then obviously I'm going to shoot this wide open as well to bring in the most light. So I'm just going to take a few shots now, find which settings that I need. Right, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to stick with this image. Next thing we want to do then is decide whether we're going to be shooting one image for the sky and then a second image for the foreground, or whether you're going to be lazy like me and just get it all in one shot. Now the benefits of shooting two is you can get one exposure for your sky, and then you can dial in your focus to your foreground. You can lower the aperture so that your lens is sharper, you can lower your ISO, and then obviously do your light painting there, but it's not too difficult to do, but I can't be arsed, so we're not going to do that. Right, so I'll take you through the light painting. So this isn't brain surgery. Light painting is just moving a torch around the foreground, basically. But the way to light paint a subject is to always shine from the side and not from behind the camera. It gives much better shadows and textures that way. If you shine a torch just stood behind the camera, it just looks crap. So try and shoot from the sides, all the way around. The lower down you get, the better, because you'll cast light over the textures of the ground and then of the foreground as well. So you can either use an intervalometer so that the camera can take pictures every so many seconds, or just walk back to the camera, set the exposure going and walk around to your foreground like I'm doing here. Right, I think for the sake of this video that'll do. We'll get back to the computer, we'll look at the pictures. I'm still not sure about whether this is a bit uncool or not, but never mind. Bang. Right, I am back. So I'm going to import these photos into Lightroom and then let's crack on into the computer. Okay, so I've got the photos into Lightroom now. The only thing I'm doing with them here is just enabling the profile corrections. Next we're going to right click, edit in and open as layers in Photoshop. First thing I'd say is I know hardly anything about Photoshop, so there's probably much better ways of doing this, but this is how I know how to do it, so you can follow along, or if you know a better way of doing this, please let me know below. So the first thing that I'm going to do once all the layers are open, best thing to do is just to make a copy of the layers in case we cock it up. Then I'm going to go through each of the layers and find out which one I want to be on the bottom. Then I'm going to stick that on the bottom, and then I'm going to select all and then change to lighten mode, and there you can see it's combined all of the pictures. Okay, so we'll start from the top. I'm going to stick a layer mask on the first one. I'm going to go make sure that it's selected black and select a brush. Then I'm going to go up to the top here and select a big size, leave the hardness on 100 and change the opacity up to 100, and then all I'm going to do is mask out the whole of that first image so that all I'm looking at is the bottom image. Then what we'll do is slowly work the light back into the photo. So now that we've got it completely black, I'm going to change that over to a smaller brush. I'm going to change the hardness slightly down, and then I'll change the opacity as well, and then switch that back over to white so that it brings out the layer underneath, and then slowly just start painting on where you want the light to be. So you can see it lightening up there. Next, turn on the next layer, hold Alt and drag down to copy that top layer mask, and then just repeat. If there's a bit over here like you don't like, then I'm going to mask that back over again with a higher opacity and selecting the black just to darken that side. And then back to what we were doing, just painting the light in. Again, if I've gone too far, just switch back to the top mask, switch back to black, and then smooth it back out again. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to enable the next layer. I'm going to hold Alt and drag down that layer mask, and then just repeat. If I want to bring more light into the image, then I select the white. If I want to take light out of the image, then I select the black. And then you can feather as well if you play with the opacity. Then I'm just going to keep going until I'm happy. Then what I like to do after I'm done is just check through the layers so you can see what each of those layers are bringing. So if I turn that layer off, you can see that what light it's adding, and then you can decide whether you want to keep that layer or not, but I actually quite like it on. Same thing with each of the layers, and if you need to, just change the mask. I think quite happy with that, so I'm just going to right click and flatten the image. Once it's done, I'm going to export that, and then I'm going to re-import that into Lightroom. And then once it's in Lightroom, I'm just going to dick around with it again until I'm happy with it. And bang, so that is that. Hopefully that's really straightforward. It's probably not the best way of doing it, to be honest, so if you've got any tips, again, please just let me know. I'd gladly take some help on how to use Photoshop. I'm very new to this. That's it for this one. I hope it's helpful, and then I'll hopefully see you again soon. Take care.